I stood in the cold draft of my late grandfather Penthouse, staring at the exposed steel wall safe behind the heavy velvet drapes. Rain clawed at the glass windows high above the sleeping city. At 32 years old, I had built a logistics empire worth billions on a single brutal principle: trust no one, forgive nothing. I am Dante Rossi. I sat down at the heavy oak desk, adjusting the sleeves of my fitted charcoal wool suit and open-collar dress shirt. My olive skin felt cold against the rain-cooled air, and I ran a hand through my wavy ink-black hair, my warm hazel eyes fixed on the rusted lock. My grandfather had died 3 weeks ago, leaving behind an empire of secrets. But I never expected his final secret to dismantle my entire soul. The key turned with a metallic click that sounded like a gunshot in the silent room. Inside lay stacks of real estate deeds, offshore account ledgers, and a small wooden box bound with a faded navy satin ribbon. My fingers brushed the smooth grain of the cedar box. A strange knot tightened in my throat. I pulled the ribbon loose. The knot slipped away like a dying breath. Inside rested a single unopened envelope, addressed to me in handwriting I had spent 5 agonizing years trying to erase from my memory. It was Anya Sharma handwriting. 5 years ago, I threw her out of my life. I erased her name from our corporate systems, blacklisted her from the industry, and watched from my high tower as she vanished into obscurity. I believed she was a traitor. I believed she had sold our trade routes to our fiercest rivals for personal gain. I had called her a mercenary. I had called her heartless. I had stood over her in my corporate boardroom and told her she was dead to me. My hands trembled as I lifted the heavy parchment from the cedar box. Beside the folded letter lay a physical greeting card, pristine and preserved against the decay of time. I opened the card first. On the crisp, textured cream paper were written 3 simple words that tore through my chest like jagged glass. I loved you. Below the card lay the letter, written on the very night I condemned her. I unfolded the paper. My hazel eyes scanned the dark ink, and with every sentence, the foundation of my life crumbled into dust. Dante, if you are reading this, it means your grandfather has finally passed, and the silence I swore to keep is no longer bound by his threats. I did not sell your secrets. I never betrayed you. I never could. My breathing stopped. The room tilted around me. My heart hammered against my ribs like a caged beast. Your younger brother Nico made a fatal error, the letter continued. He was trapped in an extortion plot by your rivals. They had video, debt obligations, and forged signatures that would have sent Nico to prison for a decade and destroyed Rossi Logistics before your grand opening. Nico came to me in tears on a rainy Tuesday night. He was terrified. He wanted to end his life. Your grandfather found out first. He told me there was only one way to save your family empire and protect your brother from destruction. Someone had to take the blame. Someone had to appear corrupt so the rivals would release the leverage. I stared at the words. The ink was slightly smeared in places where tears had fallen on the page half a decade ago. Your grandfather promised to protect my sick mother, medical bills, if I played the villain, Anya wrote. He promised that if I took the fall and walked away without defending myself, your rivals would feel victorious and leak nothing. He made me swear an oath never to tell you while he still lived. He said your pride as a founder would cause you to burn the company down to save your brother, destroying everything you worked for. So I let you hate me. I let you look at me with disgust. I stood in your office and accepted your curse because saving your brother was the only way I could keep your heart unbroken. The letter slipped from my fingers onto the polished wood desk. A choked sound tore from my throat. A sound of absolute, gut-wrenching agony. I was a monster. I had been so proud, so arrogant, so blind. I remembered the day I fired her. I remembered the rain streaming down the glass walls of my top-floor office. Anya had stood before me, 23 years old, petite and silent. Her soft raven hair was bound in a low bun, her almond-shaped dark brown eyes wide with unspoken sorrow. Her golden amber skin was pale under the harsh fluorescent lights. She had offered no defense, no excuses. She had simply looked at me with a devastation so profound I had mistaken it for guilt. I had said things to her that no human being should ever endure. I told her she was a disease. I told her I regretted ever touching her. I told her I would ensure she never worked in this city again. And through it all, she had simply bowed her head, picked up her single box of possessions, and walked out into the downpour. She was saving my brother. She was saving me. My chest cracked open. Regret was not a feeling. It was a physical blade twisting in my guts. I gripped the edges of the heavy desk, my knuckles turning stark white, and I wept. I wept for the 5 years I had spent hating the only woman who had ever truly loved me. I wept for the cruelty I had heaped upon her innocent shoulders. I wept for the sheer, unforgivable weight of my own arrogance. I stood up so violently, my leather chair crashed into the window pane behind me. I grabbed the card. I grabbed the letter. I had to know where she was. I had to find her. If it took every dollar in my accounts, every resource in my global network, I would track her down to the edge of the earth. I pulled out my phone and dialed my head of private security. Find her, I rasped, my voice shaking so hard I could barely form the words. Find Anya Sharma. Right now. While I waited in the suffocating silence of the empty penthouse, staring at the ribbon and the cream-colored card on my desk, the reality of unsaid words hit me with terrifying clarity. How many lives are destroyed because we let pride hold our tongues? How many hearts break in silence because the right words were never spoken when it mattered most? This story is sponsored by Straight Line Cards. In a world dominated by instant, cold digital text messages that disappear into the noise, we forget the timeless power of holding something real in our hands. Straight Line Cards believes that true connection requires tangibility. When you need to express what truly lies within your heart, whether it is love, gratitude, or a long overdue apology, a physical card carries weight that no screen can ever replicate. Straight Line Cards allows you to select beautifully crafted, high-quality physical keepsake cards, personalize your deepest thoughts, and even send a thoughtful physical gift directly to the doorstep of the person who matters most to you. Do not let your pride or busy schedule create years of regret. Do not leave your words unsent in the quiet corners of your mind. Send a real token of your affection today. Visit straightlinecards.com to send a personalized physical card and gift to someone you love before time slips away. The report came through 3 hours before dawn. Anya Sharma was living 300 miles away, in a tiny, windswept coastal village named Point Harbor. She was not working in corporate logistics. She was not running a lucrative firm. She lived in a modest, drafty cottage near the docks, working as an independent restorer of antique paper and ruined books. She had stripped away her past entirely. She lived alone. I did not wait for my driver. I took my dark sedan and drove through the blinding torrential downpour, pressing the accelerator to the floor. The windshield wipers beat a frantic rhythm against the glass, matching the furious, panicked pulse in my neck. 5 years. 5 years she had lived in exile. 5 years of carrying my hatred while I sat in luxury, built on her sacrifice. The sun was trying to break through thick gray storm clouds when I finally pulled into Point Harbor. The scent of salt water and wet cedar filled the air. The rain had softened into a steady, cold drizzle. I parked down the street from a small, stone-fronted shop with a gold leaf sign that read, Sharma Antique Restorations. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. I looked in the rearview mirror. My hazel eyes were bloodshot, surrounded by dark shadows of exhaustion and grief. My ink-black hair was disheveled. The olive skin of my face looked hollow. I looked like a man who had been dragged through hell, and yet my suffering was nothing compared to what I had inflicted upon her. I opened the car door and stepped out into the rain. I walked down the cobblestone alleyway, my heavy leather dress shoes echoing against the wet stones. Through the large front window of the workshop, illuminated by the warm, amber glow of a single brass table lamp, I saw her. Anya. My breath caught in my throat. My heart gave a painful, terrifying lurch. She was 28 now. Her soft raven hair was bound in her signature low bun, a few loose strands framing her gentle face. She was wearing an oversized olive knit sweater and paint-dusted jeans that showed her petite build. She was leaning over a long wooden workbench, holding a thin bone folder, painstakingly mending the torn edge of a centuries-old manuscript. Her almond-shaped dark brown eyes were focused with deep patience. Her golden amber skin glowed under the warm desk lamp. She looked peaceful. She looked fragile. She looked like the only sacred thing left in a filthy world. I stood in the drizzle for 5 whole minutes, unable to push the door open, fearing that my presence would taint the quiet sanctuary she had built from the ashes of her old life. Fearing that when she looked at me, she would see only the monster who had destroyed her youth. I reached out with a trembling hand and pushed the brass handle. A gentle bronze bell chimed above the door as I stepped inside. The smell of dried lavender, leather, ancient paper, and wet rain filled my senses. Anya did not look up immediately. "Welcome in," she said softly, her voice smooth and deep like warm honey, sending an electric shock straight to my soul. "I will be with you in just one moment. I am setting the adhesive on this flyleaf." I could not speak. The words locked in my throat. I stood near the entrance, rain dripping from the hem of my charcoal wool suit onto the polished pine floorboards. She finished her stroke, wiped her small hands on a linen rag, and slowly raised her eyes. The moment her dark brown eyes met mine, the world stopped. The color drained from her face. Her breath hitched in a sharp, terrified gasp. The linen rag slipped from her fingers and fell to the floor. "Dante," she whispered. Her voice was barely audible above the quiet patter of rain against the window. It contained no anger. It contained no hatred. Only a profound, fragile shock that shattered my remaining sanity into 1,000 pieces. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly as she took a small step back against her workbench. "How did you find me?" I took a step forward, but stopped immediately when I saw her shrink back. The realization that my presence caused her fear crushed me. "I found the box, Anya," I said. My voice broke on her name. It was a raspy, destroyed sound. "I found the Penthouse's safe. I found the card. I found your letter." Anya closed her eyes. A long, shuddering breath left her lungs. Her head tilted back slightly, and I saw a single, clear tear leak from under her dark lashes, tracing a slow path down her golden cheek. "He kept it," she whispered to herself. "Your grandfather swore he burned it. He promised me he would destroy it after he died, so you would never know." "He did not destroy it," I said, taking another agonizingly slow step toward her desk. "He kept it. And now I know everything." Anya opened her eyes. They were shining with unshed tears. She shook her head softly. You were never meant to know, Dante. It was done. It was 5 years ago. Nico is safe. Your company is the largest in the country. The sacrifice was already paid. Why did you come here to tear open old wounds? Because I am dying, Anya, I choked out, tears finally spilling over my own lashes, burning my skin. Because every breath I have taken for 5 years has been built on a lie. Because I called you a traitor. I ruined your name. I cast you out into the dark when you were giving up everything to save my family. I could not stand anymore. The weight of my sins was too vast. My knees buckled beneath me. I dropped to the floor. I, Dante Rossi, a man who had never bowed to any rival, a man who had built a reputation on cold, unyielding power, fell to my knees on the dusty wooden floorboards of her small paper shop. I bowed my head until my hair touched the dust near her small shoes. Dante, please, do not do this. She cried out, her voice breaking. Get up. Please get up. No, I sobbed. I will not get up. I do not deserve to stand in the same room as you. I am a monster, Anya. I looked into your eyes 5 years ago and I saw guilt where there was only pure, unselfish devotion. I let my ego blind me. I tore down the only woman who ever truly loved me, and I walked away thinking I was righteous. I reached into my breast pocket with trembling fingers and pulled out the physical straight-line card she had written 5 years ago, along with the ribbon-bound letter. I held them up toward her, my hands shaking so violently the paper rustled in the quiet shop. You wrote that you loved me, I wept, looking up into her beautiful, tear-stained face. You wrote those words on the night I destroyed your world. I did not earn that love then. I do not deserve it now. But if I have to spend every second of the rest of my life on my knees, begging for your forgiveness, I will do it. I will give you everything I own. I will throw away the empire. I will announce the truth to the world and restore your name. Just tell me what to do to heal the pain I caused you. Anya stared down at me. Tears were flowing freely down her face now, dripping off her chin onto her sweater. She looked at the folded card in my hands. She looked at my shattered face, stripped of all pride, all wealth, all defenses. She slowly sank down to her knees before me. Now we were at eye level, inches apart in the soft, warm light of her small workshop, while the cold rain washed against the world outside. She reached out a hesitant, small hand. Her warm fingertips brushed against my wet cheekbone, wiping away a tear. Her touch was so gentle, so unbelievably tender, it made me sob aloud. I never stopped loving you, Dante, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I was angry. I was heartbroken. But I never hated you. I knew who you were beneath the suits and the power. I knew you would have burned your world down for Nico. That is why I took the fall. I did not do it for your grandfather. I did not do it for the money. I did it because I could not bear to watch you destroy yourself. How can you touch me? I rasped, leaning my face into her hand, gripping her wrist like a drowning man clutching a lifeline. How can you even look at me after what I did? Because I know you now see the truth, she murmured softly. Because the man kneeling in front of me is not the cold billionaire who threw me out. You are the man I gave my heart to 5 years ago. Can you ever forgive me? I begged, my hazel eyes searching hers for any sign of hope. Is there a universe where I can spend the rest of my life earning the right to be near you again? I do not ask for your love today. I do not ask you to come back to my world. I will leave the corporate world behind. I will move here. I will sweep these floors. I will do anything. Just let me be near you. Anya looked deep into my eyes, seeing the raw, unvarnished truth of my remorse. The silence hung between us, heavy with 5 years of lost time, unspoken pain, and lingering devotion. Then, slowly, she pulled the navy ribbon from my fingers and wrapped it softly around my wrist, tying a delicate knot. "The road will be long, Dante," she said softly, a small, sad, beautiful smile touching her lips through her tears. "You have a lot of damage to undo. You have to tell Nico the truth. You have to clean the mud from my name." "I will do it today," I promised fiercely. "By tonight, the whole world will know you are a saint." And then, she continued, leaning her forehead against mine so I could feel the warmth of her breath, "Then you can buy a house down near the coast. And you can learn how to fix old paper with me." A deep, trembling breath exploded from my chest. I wrapped my arms around her petite frame, pulling her tight against my chest, burying my face into the crook of her neck. She held me back, her soft arms wrapping around my shoulders, holding me as if I were a lost soul who had finally found his way home through the storm. I had spent 5 years living in a fortress of cold stone and golden wealth, thinking I was invincible. But as I held Anya Sharma in that small, rain-scented room, surrounded by the smell of dried lavender and ancient paper, I knew the truth. Power was nothing. Wealth was dust. The only real strength in this terrifying world was the courage to speak the truth, the willingness to drop to your knees when you are wrong, and the infinite, breathtaking grace of a second chance at love.
If you want more stories like this, like and subscribe.